How do we embrace all the beauty of the world of consciousness, awareness, spirituality, soul knowing without getting overly serious about it? Well, maybe that's just me talking, but I feel like it's a great way to approach this work. We know we're doing it, we know we are interested, and therefore we are on the path. There's no judgment about where we find ourselves, and there's nowhere we need to be. We may not be perfect, but we're moving energy in a direction of wanting to feel expansive in all areas of our life. Thank you for joining me for this beautiful episode on holding spirituality lightly. I'll see you in the episode. So, welcome back to Mystical Sisterhood. This is your host, Maureen Spielman, and I'm recording 2 solo episodes back to back on the year of the fire horse, February 17th. I don't do this often, but I had just written and recorded my Return to Wholeness episode that aired just a few weeks ago. And I looked into what I had created or was wanting to create a while back. And one of the episodes was labeled Spirituality Light, and it was LIGHT/LITE. And I opened it and I'm like, I'm just going to go with this one because this one is actually pretty important to me. For me, the energy I carry is not one of gravity or seriousness. It's that I've had the honor of learning a lot of things I have in the classrooms I've sat in and the conversations I've had. And I've learned, where can I apply these things to my own life without having to do something? Or, I lived in that space. It wasn't a like super serious one, but I've lived in the space of this needing to be something that someone else was doing. And that put like a pressure on it or gravity. But I'm moving out of this. And the fire horse year is one about that's being purported as holding a very dynamic and flowing energy for us, energies that carries us through. And it's energy that's part of us and is all around us and supports us and helps us alchemize the healing work we're doing too. So I think that there are different tones, and I'd be curious to see what you think that spirituality can take. When it's heavier or very serious, I'm like, whoa, not for me. I tend to find mystics and intuitives for the show that are a similar vibration to me. And when it feels a little heavier, I'm like, whoa, different vibration, right? So I'm really keying in on this year coming, like, who is in resonance for this, knowing that spirituality and the consciousness work can be light and healing at the same time. And I laugh at that because when I created the podcast, it was joy and healing could co-occur in the same space. It was like in the original paragraph. And it's when I came out of going through my significant illness, joy and healing was what I learned that, oh my gosh, they can both occur. And I really want to like put a pin in that because it is a marker of what Mystical Sisterhood is all about. And it's bringing in, I think, so much of us in our rediscovering. I think we have gone through years of really a lot of processing, and things that felt denser to us. And we're moving into this light. So as the collective rises and this light is rising, it's inviting us like, oh, playful energy, joyful energy. And so, I mean, if someone else is like, hey, Maureen, you're way too light about it, you go find somebody else that matches, right? So spirituality to me it's meant to feel light. In fact, when I was writing this, it was like, it is light, right? LIGHT. It's like we are made of light. We're surrounded by light. We're rediscovering our light. So let's think of spirituality as light and light filled. I've always had that idea, right? Like I'm saying, of the joy, the healing, the lightness. And I just really want to exemplify that today. So I wrote down some spiritual principles. I have a feeling this is going to be a shorter episode, which is beautiful. So we can all take a collective sigh and breathe into the idea that we are meant to experience the joy in life and that we will seek to find it where we can. And that brings that playful, joyful spirit that was maybe untapped in me. I think a lot of women at midlife are finding this. Some of my favorite spiritual and universal principles, I'm talking a lot about spirituality, but I tend to call them universal principles that I use in my daily life are I wrote a list out of them. And this one may not sound as playful to you, but I've learned to make it playful. When experiences or situations happen in life, I look as much as I can with a smile of like, how is this for me? And how can I learn and grow from it? I just did that episode on coming to ourselves compassionately. So when we do that work of self compassion, we actually are setting the stage to ask these kind of questions more lightly, with more humor, because we're holding ourselves in the light and we're holding ourselves in this field of like curiosity. And curiosity is not heavy, willingness is not heavy. In fact, I think on those vibrational scales of I think they're the David Hawkins levels of consciousness, maybe I'll share that when this goes to air, is that when you get into the willingness, curiosity stages, they're very light. They get out of judgment, they get out of projection, they get out of shame, all these things. So like pair this episode with the one I did on returning to your wholeness and compassion and self-love, because it's when we do that work that these principles become really juicy. Okay, what I want to say, and it is a principle, is that it's more about our process than the outcome. And when I can look at that and instead of being attached, you know how it's often said, surrender, surrender. Well, surrender, you tell me to surrender, that's easier said than done, right? If I can switch that a little and understand like, oh, it's my process. It's how I'm escorting myself through. It's, am I giving myself rest? Am I honoring myself? Did I set a boundary? Did I stick by a sacred yes or a sacred no? Those are processes. Did I come to myself with kindness? That's a process. And so when I become more invested in that process than being attached to the outcomes, that allows the universe to step in and do its magic. Things become serendipitous, as one of my group members and friends said just recently. And I love that word, serendipity. When we begin to play in these fields, that's when things start to gel. They're cohesive. We notice them. We're aware. We express gratitude. So I'll say that one. Like I said, this is not going to be a long episode. Gratitude. That's where gratitude comes in. When we see the magic and serendipity. And the next one I'm going to name is when we recognize that who we're meant to have the divine appointments with, they come into our life just as the right time. I have gratitude. I'm so grateful. And it's moving that gratitude from a thought form and expressing it. I feel like that's a really important part for me. So moving the thought form into actual expression. That could be to the universe. Thank you for showing me the way. Thank you for getting me the parking space. Thank you for that divine idea. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As much as I can do that with the universe, it responds in kind. And for me too, the expression of gratitude for those around me, that's a work in progress for me. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I appreciate you. I acknowledge you. So those beautiful things. I just said divine appointment, and that's just a really fun thing for me. Like if I meet somebody or someone comes to the group I didn't know, or whatever it is, I get an email out of the blue or a podcast guest that really fits well. I'm like, wow, I guess I had a divine appointment with them. So let's see what this is. Let's explore what it is. And that goes hand in hand with a universal principle that everything happens in divine timing. So I think that this is more palatable to me and many others for the old adage that everything happens for a reason, because that one is something that I don't use. And I found aversion to it. People will tell me, and it makes us feel, it makes us feel like we're blamed or responsible, and it feels heavy. And I tend to be drawn to things that make me feel light, and I'm creating more lightness for myself. So everything happening in divine timing. And you know what? That takes a lot of pressure off me too. The parts of me, like I'm doing my action, I'm doing my work over here, but the parts of me that thinks that I should be somewhere else, or a relationship in my life should look somewhere else by then, I'm like, whoo, everything happens in divine timing, Maureen. Remember that one. And that's kind of like along, everything's happening in perfect order. So all the trials and tribulations that I had to go through were part of my path, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's true. But just these things, how is this for me? What is my process? Everything happens in divine timing. Grateful for divine appointments, and this next one, what is meant for you will find you. And I think that that one can go hand in hand with everything happens in divine timing. So everything that is meant for me will find me. Woo! If you keep a journal and you actually keep track of those things that have found you, those people that have found you, that course of study that found you, everything that is meant for you will find you. That person. Trust that what needs to stay in your life will stay and what needs to go will go. So where I was thinking like there's so many things you could do a podcast episode and have conversations around, but one of my thoughts yesterday was like forever I thought that I could solve my problems, let's just call them problems, from the level of the mind. And in retrospect, I did that for decades and it didn't work. And I think that there was a part where my body, my intuition, my physical self, my heart knows the way. But I grew up in a culture that was overly reliant on all the ways our mind is here to lead us. And that's great and everything. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to go into that. But when I let my heart lead, it opens up all of these principles of understanding like, ooh, I can't figure out in my mind. Because if I figure out in my mind, I want the answer now. I want the answer yesterday. And it's also suggestive that something's wrong about what's in front of me instead of being that learning experience, which is what we're doing on this earthly plane, I believe. So, yeah, these are some of the ones that are basic and simple and accessible, and I'm wondering how you're feeling about them. I'm wondering, what other principles you live by. So when this airs, I'm going to put that out there. Like, what are your favorites? Because today, I just wanted to make it light. I just wanted to offer something that could buoy you in your day and that could reframe possibly the way you were seeing something or the timing or the need to be something other than it is. Because if I trust anything, I trust the process of life. And I've been as frustrated and I've been knocking my head against the wall in the past, just like most of us. But I'm doing my part around the healing and I'm doing my part to bring in expansion. So the ways I do that too is I post them in my house. I've got things on my windows. I've got things on my bulletin board to help remind me. And I say, attach yourself to those people who believe that anything is possible for you. I'm one of them, who hold the light and who are unequivocal about you being the light and being in your light. Make play a part of your daily life. Turn on music that makes your heart sing. Today I'm wearing this pink, wear a color that makes your heart sing. Dance, bring silliness into your life, bring back that childlike nature. I laugh because I think my husband is on this journey and he's rediscovering like these playful kid parts of himself. And sometimes like the boss woman wants to come in and be like, hey, why are you being so playful? And then I have to laugh at myself like, wait a minute, how did you become so serious? And I think even this podcast episode today is what I yearn for, what I want to experience. And it's partly why it's here. So the parts that are like, you have to be serious, Maureen. You have to be serious to make this all work out. It's like, what? It's all about shattering paradigms, right? And shattering our conditioning. So this is really what this is about today, too. And I wanted to say a note about creation. Create as much as possible because your creations are the definition of who you are and they're not judged. But I was thinking, create your conversations you want to have, create beauty in whatever form it takes, create recipes in the form of beautiful food, create poetry. Your expression wants to be felt and heard by the universe. Paint. I'm not an artist, but I want to paint. Allow you to come through because the universe is in this dance with you. It desires all that is meant to be expressed to be here to be expressed, your joy, your laughter, your smiles, your softness, your love, your compassion, all of it. So I vow to remember that I am a being of light. I invite you to do the same, to be on a journey of mysticism, of playfulness, and of joy. And it's my conditioning that's led me away from the spirited versions of myself. So I think that the work can be enlightening, again, enlightening, full of light. And I just wanted to do an ode to spirituality light because I think we all need it in our lives. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystical Sisterhood. To learn more about my one-on-one coaching programs or join the Mystical Sisterhood membership, visit MaureenSpielman.com or MysticalSisterhood.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode.